how many animals, how many cats do you have in your sanctuary?
Everybody take a deep breath. 22.
22 cats at the sanctuary.
Yes.
What do you do with 22 cats? Hi, y'all. Welcome to Buddies Besties. I'm Layla, and I am your host today. And today I'm here with Jennifer Caves, and she is the owner of the Real Animal Sanctuary. So tell me, what is the difference between a sanctuary and a rescue?
Sure. So rescues typically have adoption events and their animals are adoptable. And sanctuaries typically, when we intake animals, they're normally with us for life.
For life.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of animals are at your sanctuary?
Unfortunately, just dogs and cats.
Okay.
I would love to have more land where we could rescue animals that go to slaughter. And just there's auctions where horses are auctioned off, but I don't have the land to do that. So I stay within my means and we focus on dogs and cats.
And your other role is an animal behaviorist.
Right, which they mesh well.
Very well. So tell me a little bit about the cats that you have there, because of course I'm just gonna, you know I'm a cat lady, and I find it so interesting that there's a cat sanctuary that you have. How many animals, how many cats do you have in your sanctuary?
Everybody take a deep breath. 22.
22 cats at the sanctuary.
Yes.
And they're not gonna be adopted out.
They're not.
Okay. What do you do with 22 cats?
Well, so interestingly enough, they typically come to us, and I could probably tell you each story, but due to being succinct in time, most of them come to us feral. And so we live out in the country where there's no animal control. Not that I would feel great about calling them, but so there's just not a lot of help for animals out where I live. And that became obvious. And so we trap them. We spay and neuter them, and rather than releasing them like a lot of people do, and I understand that, cats, when they're out, they typically become prey. You've got owls, coyotes, you have country dogs that roam that aren't in fences, cars. There's just a lot of reasons ethically that we chose to, once we trap and spay and neuter them and rehabilitate them, we choose to just make them part of our sanctuary family.
And your sanctuary, is it indoors?
Yes, it is indoors.
So you have 22 cats inside a space.
We do build catteries. Yeah, so they get to be outside. But at night, we say, here's the thing. We don't want a cat to have to fight for its life, so they get to come in.
What's a cattery?
Yeah, so a cattery is like this really cool, sometimes they're called catios.
Okay.
Where we screened our porches front and back, and they get the feeling of being outside, but they're contained safely. And there's cat trees. My husband has built many cat trees. We have a cat exercise wheel you can find on Amazon. So we have all the things.
It's like a Disneyland for cats.
We try.
Okay. I love that. We talked a little bit about cats kind of being more victims in the animal space. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
So I work really closely with city shelters, and city shelters are open intake, which means when an animal is surrendered, they don't get to turn the animal away. You can't, as a city-funded shelter, you can't look at a resident and say, I don't have space for your cat or dog, go find elsewhere. So you can only intake before you run out of space. And what ends up happening, all the statistics show, is that cats get killed significantly more than dogs. Particularly in the South. And so that, as a cat lover, it breaks our heart, because they don't seem to be quite valued like we do dogs as part of the family.
I know when I travel, I've flown with my cat. I've driven cross country with my cats, and it's very difficult to take them places because they don't like to be in cars and things like that. But hotels oftentimes won't allow cats.
Sure.
They'll only allow dogs and things like that. When you're renting a home or something, a lot of times it's like dogs are fine, but cats, so they kind of have a bad rep. So I love that you're taking so many of them in. I think that's great.
Yes, thank you. And I will just say, I don't know if I can do a plug here, but Adventure Cats of Instagram, what they show is people that take their cats kayaking, hiking. Have you seen it?
I've seen these cats, and I think it's so amazing that people can get their cats to ski and surf. And there's one cat, Oh, I forget his name, and I can't believe surfing and likes to go on his name is Dobby, but I don't know the name of the Instagram account. But he's like always on a boat.
Yes.
He's got this cat. He's got a little life jacket,
yes.
which is the cutest thing ever. And he's just out there like on the boat sailing around.
Yeah.
And my cats won't get near. They'll barely drink water, let alone want to be near a bathtub or near any kind of open water. So that's
really
cool.
Kind of part of what we do. And I feel like when we talk about meeting a cat's needs, they do love to be outside if we systematically expose them to harnesses and things like that. Right. So I think part of being a cat lover, like you mentioned, taking them to travel isn't something most people think of, but you can take certain steps to help them experience the outside world in a way that they enjoy, that's safe.
And they're safe.
Yeah.
And how many dogs do you have?
We have 7. We've actually lost some over the years. And so our number of dogs has gone down, unfortunately.
And again, the reason you would keep a dog at the sanctuary would be maybe health concerns, or they're not homeable, or what kind of reasons would they end up at your sanctuary? That's a great question.
So we've had feral dogs that come in. And so Astro in particular, it took me 8 months to touch him. So they are project dogs because they don't come to you socialize. They don't even know that human touch equals anything good. So because it takes such a process, he does not generalize. After the 8 months, when we rehabilitated him, we did try to adopt him out because at some point you don't want your sanctuary to be so full that you can't intake more. But it became very clear that when he would transition to new people, he would start right back over with his fearful responses.
Wow.
So even though we tried, we said, hey, what's best for him is we can keep his environment safe and he can feel loved here. So we ended up, again, having him in our sanctuary. So we've got feral dogs. People-aggressive dogs, it gets a really bad rap. It's like once you bite a person, I mean, that dog is typically euthanized for public safety. What's interesting, though, is when you really study behavior and you know behavior, most aggression is rooted in fear.
Right.
So if you can really help that dog learn that, again, safety, imagine a child or a person who doesn't feel safe. You could be walking down a path and see a person in a hoodie at dark that you don't know, and the closer they get, the more fearful you feel.
Right.
So the closer they get and the more fearful you feel, you're not going to be yourself and be like, oh, hey. So fear changes behavior in everybody. It's just not tolerated when dogs have such fear that they bite. So we take in dogs like that and we help them feel safe, but due to liability, they stay with us.
They stay with you. Mm-hmm. Can you rehabilitate a feral cat? Because I've always heard if you find a feral cat, they're feral, they want to be outside, you can, TNR them and put them back out, and that's fine, but you really can't take them in.
I think it is mind-blowing what I've experienced over the 20 years in doing this. One of the most aggressive, right? Hissing, scratching, biting, hurting itself to try to get out of the live trap and the cat tower that we had this feral cat in. You would have said, hey, Jen, this one needs to be out in the wild. But what is amazing is if you take the time, this is my experience, when we take the time to be predictable and positive and safe over and over and over again, and I watch that cat's comfort level, that cat starts to trust me. And it can go something as simple as when I sit here, my presence equals canned cat food, and I will just sit there. That's something that seems very non-eventful is a big thing to a feral cat because I am not causing that fear reaction. And over time, we do things like make the door, on a cat carrier or the cat tower, there's a door. You make that noise, equal more canned cat food. So you're just desensitizing them to all your motions and your smell and your presence. And one of my most aggressive cats, feral aggressive, he is a big baby now. His name is Cat Daddy. So
what's his name?
Cat Daddy.
Cat Daddy. And what color is he?
So he was found with a kitten. He's black and white. He was found with a kitten. I got to tell you a quick story about his name. They thought it was the mama, a mama with one kitten.
Okay.
Because the kitten would pretend nurse on his stomach. Okay, so we thought we were trapping a female, and the vet called me and said, so mama's a dad. So we said Cat Daddy.
I love that. So did the kitten get rehomed somewhere and you kept Cat Daddy?
Yes, because the kitten was able to, trust me, the kitten was ready to fight in the beginning, but we were able to just show the kitten over time. People you can trust people, and the kitten was adopted.
Do you have better luck rehabilitating a cat versus a dog?
That's a good question. I haven't seen there be a species difference. I've just seen where people's way of thinking, like if you were to say, hey, I need help rehabilitating a feral dog or cat, a lot of it has to do with like our own expectations. We expect animals to love our touch.
Right.
Well, feral animals do not.
Do not.
So it's a lot of like, I think, teaching the person how to move, how to be, and then the animal typically responds.
So how long have you had the sanctuary?
Oh, goodness, that's a great question. We've had the sanctuary for 14 years.
And how do you fund a sanctuary?
Through donations. So we're a registered nonprofit. We have our EIN, so everything is legit on that front. But we rely on the public's generosity of connecting with our mission to fund the sanctuary.
And do you do things like social media and do fundraisers that way? Are you is Real Animal Sanctuary on Instagram?
Yes,
and Facebook?
that is actually my Instagram handle. Is Real Sanctuary, Real_Sanctuary.
Okay.
So you can see some of the cats there. You can see some of the dogs. You can see what we do.
And so you keep them for life.
We do. I mean, under the there are certain conditions, like with the kitten, that we're say, hey, this kitten can be really adoptable.
And so do most of these animals just find your sanctuary? Do other people, do they call you and say, I found this animal? How does this work? Is it similar to a rescue or is it a little bit different?
Yeah, so so a lot of animals find us, a lot of cats in particular. Hendrix found us with an embedded harness in his back, and it was necrotic. His tissue was necrotic, and I, as good as I profess to be, I had to get an expert trapper for this cat. I had met my match, and she came in and saved the day. So he proved really hard to trap, but same thing, he's healed and amazing now. So he found us, but then I get the call. So I actually got a call about Cat Mama, who was really Cat Daddy. They were out in Irving, and so both they find us, and I get phone calls.
It's really amazing work that you're doing this. I find it so interesting. So you know lots and lots about cats.
I do.
So what are some of the behaviors? Because I read all these things online and I see things like, oh, when the cat's tail makes a question mark, that means it's super happy.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is I also, just like dogs, cats are very idiosyncratic, where like each cat has their own expression. So much like the cat tail, I think if we pay attention to the cat's body language when they're doing something they enjoy, you can start to say, well, look at their tail. And you make that association.
Right.
But then I have another cat whose tail never makes a question mark, but it doesn't mean he's not happy. So.
I have one at home her tail's always in a question mark. So I'm like, she's always happy. She loves it here. Even when I'm forced cuddling her for 25 hours.
Yeah.
So with a cat specifically, we always hear that cats are super fast. Man, they quickly, turn around and they get you, right? Groomers will tell you all day long, like, I'm nervous about doing cats because they're so fast and they can scratch me or bite me really quick. But dogs show a lot of signs. Mm-hmm. Do cats?
So cats do show signs, but I do think they're a little bit more stoic in their body language. And I think that's where people come across as, you got to be fast because they'll get you when you're least expect it. But I definitely tell people, you know your cat best. And so again, if we can pay attention to sort of what they're doing when they're not okay. So for example, at the sanctuary, I have cats that are terrified of other people, right? They just didn't have good experiences with other people. They will go hide. Someone else has called me their cat, that defensive aggression versus offensive. The cat will go towards what scares them, people in their home. So I do think it's really individualized often.
Individualized.
Yeah.
I had a cat. I used to take her to the vet and I would tell the vet, she's fast and she's mean, because I knew her. And the vets were like, oh, she's so pretty. And they would, and she got them every time.
Yeah.
Like, I tried to tell you.
And you knew it.
I know she's mean. She's as sassy as could be, but she was fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so interesting. Now, tell me one of your favorite stories about one of your sanctuary animals. Can be a dog too. I won't selective make you tell me a great cat story, but.
Oh, okay. Goodness. So much to choose from. I think one of my favorite would be, there was a cat that was stuck in a drain. And I think that emotions are high when you know that it was rainy. And I think there had been so many people trying to help that couldn't get the cat. And when you're called out on something like that, it's kind of hit or miss. If you miss your opportunity to capture the cat, typically they flee.
Right.
So the stakes were high, and we did a great job. And there are times that we've been called out and the cat has gone away. And so not every story ends like we want it to. But I think the team effort, I think animals bring people together. And so you see the best in people when you start rescuing animals. So just that one little cat brought so many people together. It's a pretty cool story.
That's great.
Yeah.
Cats are fast. Cats are I like them because I think they're selective. They like who they like. But they know when people are trying to help them. Sometimes they're just, they're scared. And so they tend to take off. It's been really, really fun talking to you about this cat sanctuary. I really want to come visit. Will you let me come visit sometime?
Yes, absolutely. You have an open invitation.
I promise my husband, if he's watching, I will not bring more cats home. But you won't let me take them home anyway.
Not allowed.
Not allowed. He's going to let me come all the time. He's going to be like, sure, you want to go see Jen?
Come get your cat therapy.
Get my cat fix. Have you heard about these cat cafes? Have you heard about this?
I have. There's one in Dallas.
Yeah, I have. I've heard about that one too. It'd be really interesting.
The name slips my mind, but I actually took my girls there, so we went.
You did?
Yes.
Did you guys have fun?
Oh, we can't wait to go back. They climb above you. They sit beside you. You can get a coffee. There's rooms you can go into and actually interact with the kittens and cats, and they're just free roaming little cat everywhere. It's a cat dream, a cat lover's dream.
Can anyone come to your sanctuary and see the cats?
So we don't have it open to the public due to some of the dogs that we...
Sure.
At the end of the day with our sanctuary, it's all about the animals. Right. So I know people's home is normally for other people. Ours is for our animals. And so definitely by appointment so that we can make sure you're safe, they're safe, and we can make sure you have a good experience. And I think it's great to have people come so they can see the animals.
Sure.
But we don't ever want, a dog or cat to be terrified when someone comes.
We've been talking about the sanctuary, and it slipped my mind that it's your home. So how does that work for your personal life? Like, you have kids?
I do. I have two.
So do they have sleepovers?
So they do, and that's so interesting because I am the one saying, hey, I need to talk to their parents. I need to let them know that their child will not want to leave here. Most of the children are fascinated by our home.
Kids love animals, which I think is so great. We were talking earlier, and kids really want to be involved. And if they can be involved early, then hopefully as they grow up and they have a different compassion level and a different understanding of animals, it can change the game for rescues, sanctuaries, shelters.
So if I could choose any passion project, that would be my next, is to go into schools and have some sort of small curriculum, age appropriate, of course, where children got the lesson on dog body language. And for example, we teach pet pause. That's something a lot of parents haven't heard of.
What's that?
So essentially, any child that comes to the sanctuary, what we do is we choose our most sociable animals. And one of the things is we say, let's watch the cat or dog's body language. What do you see? Can you tell me what you see with the ears, the tail, the body? And the kids, every time, kids are so intelligent. Well, that dog's ears are down a little bit, or that cat's tail is twitching. And then I will tell them if the cat's tail's twitching, then we're just going to sit here. Then when the cat chooses to come love on you, it's a huge hug. And then the cat, if they choose, will come love on the kid. If the cat gives consent to love on the kid, we do pet, pause. Hey, let's see what the cat does. And then we can respect the cat's agency to move away. And this is how I wish that we could continue to do things like this on a mass level so that children can enjoy those positive interactions with animals and we can reduce fights, dog and cat.
Wow. That would be so incredible to do. Have you seen that meme that's going around and it says, public schools, teach me how to do my taxes. Public school, shut up and square dance. Have you seen that? No. I feel like you could take out, do my taxes and insert how to be a better citizen with animals.
Right.
Shut up and square dance. I would much rather learn how to be around animals than square dance.
Yeah, and even how do we reduce the shelter killing? It's going to start with the future generations of being responsible, not looking at pets as disposable, learning how to navigate behavioral issues. Hey, what if your only option isn't euthanasia? What if your only option isn't rehoming your cat or dog or taking to a kill shelter? And I worry that if kids don't learn those things about responsibility and
Sure.
spay and neuter, that this problem of shelter killing or dogs on the streets or feral cats, it just perpetuates.
Absolutely.
And then there's too many animals and less people able to help.
Right. Well, that's why we're all doing everything that we do. And I know you have an animal behavioral business as well. And so when you're doing all of that, I'm sure you talk about all these things with folks. And if they want to know more about that, they can go out onto your website. They can look on your social media. I'm sure you're giving tips on all of these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things I do tell people is you can obviously, consumers' right to choose whoever you want. But I do know with our behavioral business, you're supporting some great work that we're doing for the community. And if that resonates with somebody, then it does.
Your story is just so inspiring. If someone's watching today and they want to actually start a sanctuary, what are some things you can share with them to get them started?
Yeah. Well, I think there's sharing the business side of it, which is the nonprofit. You definitely want to get your EIN. You want to file as a nonprofit. Everything is, people are more likely to donate and trust your organization if it's all legit in the tax bracket and everything. People can kind of question if you're doing it on your own.
Right.
So I think that's probably step number one. But on a different level, I would say, have you visited a open, city shelter? Have you identified the space you're going to have? Are you going to do it in a facility? Are you going to do it with your home?
Right.
Do you have support? This is huge. Something we haven't talked about is like burnout. And really, when you give, and you're full of empathy, it can be a balancing act with having your own children and your job. And so you're just self-sacrificing a lot. And so I think there's levels of awareness that would be really good for someone who's inspired to open a sanctuary. You've got the business side, you've got the animal side, and then you have like your own mental health support system side.
Yeah.
I think those are all probably pretty important.
Your husband's probably super into this too, right? He'd have to be.
It took him like less than 4 hours to build a ramp for our senior dog. And so
I love it.
Yes, he's in it.
What does REAL stand for in the sanctuary?
Rescue, educate, advocate, love.
I love that so much. Rescue, educate, advocate, and love. Man, if we could all do that, we probably wouldn't need sanctuaries, right? We wouldn't need all these things, but we still do, and we are so grateful for all the work that you do, Jen. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a great day here on Buddies Besties. Thanks for joining us today, and remember, adopt, don't shop.